Hi, my name's Israel Irene Content, and I usually go by Izzy, but I don't even care anymore. Call me Izzy, Israel, whatever you want. But basically, I feel like I should share my story on just how God has. How do I put this? Just on how God made my life so much better, and how I'm at peace, and just how he worked through my life. I really want to share to people just the things that I went through and the things that I'm still going through. Um, but just like what has helped me, you know. I feel like that's really important to talk about things that are helping you, in this life. It doesn't even matter. I mean, religious or not, it's just if you have something that is helping you right now in your life, why not share it? And for me, I feel like I should share um, just on how God is helping me and how he helped me through some really, really tough times. So I have my tea. Um, I'm drinking, what is it? Orange spice? Yeah, it's green tea flavor. I like green tea, so this is orange spice flavored, and it's just, I love tea. I only drink tea and like coffee. I don't, I don't really snack on anything else. I just snack on tea. Like that's, I'm like, if I'm not gonna eat, like if I can't find anything to eat, I'll just drink tea. Like it'll fill me up. It's all good. So yeah, I have my teacup, well, mug, and I'm ready to go. I have my notes. Isn't this cute? Wait, I want to shoot the light. There you go. Now you can see it. Isn't this cute? I have my notes on here. I'm like kind of prepared. So I'm gonna try. I'm not really good at explaining things all the time. I'm all over the place usually, and I like stutter and like I'm just really awkward. So hopefully this goes good. I can't promise you how much sense this is going to make, but I'm gonna try my hardest to just be myself and just share my experience on life and just yeah. So I gotta look at my notes. I gotta kind of trying to be organized because I'm literally all over the place all the time. Like I'm trying to be organized. Okay, so I did my introduction. Okay. So my struggles before God. So basically, I grew up in a Catholic school, and I remember when I was little, I didn't pay attention literally to nothing. I didn't really know much of the Bible. I knew Adam and Eve. I knew simple things like that, and I knew he died on the cross for us, but I didn't really understand a lot of these things. I kind of was just a kid going to school. I hated school, so I hated pretty much everything. I just, at the end of the day, I just wanted to play with Barbies and watch Disney Channel. I did not give a crap about any of that stuff. But I remember when I was little, I remember somebody telling me, Israel, what's really important to remember is that God is your friend, and he is always there for you, and he loves you so much. So for me, that's all I really cared about. I was like, yep, okay, well, I love him. He loves me. He's cool. I believe in him. We're all good. Like, everything's great. Everything's good. So it wasn't until I was like 15, that's when I kind of came back to God. I mean, I was always still really connected with him, but when I was a little girl, I just believed in him because I went to school and that's what we were told to do. And then I moved when I was like 8 years old. I moved to a public school where we didn't teach and learn about God. So I was just like, okay, well, you know what? God, I still believe in God, but I don't really, I don't know. I just didn't put him in my life. I didn't really think much about it. It was when I was 15 years old. That's when God kind of came into my life and started really talking to me and really getting my attention. I was so depressed. I was so, so sad. It really started when I was 13, because I was starting to get narcolepsy. I was really sleepy, so I knew there was something wrong with me. And I think when I was 13, I think that's when narcolepsy came in. And basically, if you don't know what narcolepsy is, it's basically when you just get really sleepy and you don't really sleep at night and you're kind of trying to catch up on sleep throughout the day. and it basically feels like you haven't gotten sleep in like 2 days. You know, it's an awful thing. It's just it's really bad. It's not something I would wish on anyone. It's really draining. I was having such a hard time in school, and then that year, this was all when I was 13. That year, my dog died, so literally my best friend died, and I was just like sleepy and miserable, and I hated school, and I didn't really have a lot of real friends, and it was just really weird. And then COVID came. This was eighth grade, by the way. COVID came, and basically, um, it's all kind of a blur because it was kind of a long time ago. But basically, I isolated myself. I stayed at home and I just isolated myself, and I just had a hard time in school and life, and I I don't even remember. It was so long ago. But anyways, I was 14 and 15. Yes, 15 is what I remember more. 15 years old, I was finally going back to school. There was a big time where I was just at home. Um, I just stayed at home because of Corona and my yeah. But I was 15 and I was going into 10th grade. It was so awkward because I was in 8th grade when I left school to stay at home, and then I seen all my friends and all my classmates in 10th grade. So it was like 8th grade to 10th grade was a big jump of especially not being around kids and not seeing people, and just it was so weird. So going into school at 15, being in 10th grade, I literally had like no friends. Like I had friends, but the connection wasn't tight like it was in 8th grade. It just felt so like not like what I wanted it to be. I felt like it just was everything wasn't what I wanted. I wanted to be a kid and I wanted to be in high school, and I wanted, you know, I wanted this nice experience of starting high school with your friends and football games and all that. I didn't have any of that. I felt very, very lonely. The friends I was friends with in 8th grade kind of moved on and kind of had their own group and had boyfriends and all that. And I wasn't friends with them anymore, and I didn't have friends. So I was like, who do I talk to? Everybody has a boyfriend. I don't have a boyfriend. It was really depressing because I was just like, I'm so lonely in this school. Like, I'm so lonely. I don't really feel like anybody's actually my real friend. Um, I had people I was good friends with in like classes and stuff, but I wasn't really close with them outside of school. So in school was fine, but like at lunch was kind of awkward, and like outside of school was really awkward. So, gosh, this is 7 minutes long. This is gonna be so long. I'm so sorry, but it's important to share my story, so I'm going to share it. But anyways, yeah, I was just really, really lonely, in 10th grade. So for me, I basically was like, I was just so attached to like anyone. Like if you would talk to me, I was like, yes, finally somebody's talking to me. Like I just I felt like neglected in general at that point too. I felt neglected at home. I felt neglected at school. I felt neglected like everywhere. Like I felt like nobody actually really cared about me. So I got really, really depressed. And around this time, like I said, I was developing narcolepsy when I was like 13, so I was having a really tough time staying awake and getting my schoolwork done. I was already really bad at school. I had IEP. I think that's what it is. IEP or whatever. I don't know. I was in learning support, so school was always really hard for me. Everything was just hard. Like I wasn't. I just. I was sad. I was sad. I didn't know. I didn't have any real friends. I didn't really. I was always kind of one of those kids, especially in like middle school. Always kind of one of those kids that like kind of just did what everybody else did. Like I didn't really know what I liked. Um, it was kind of just like all over the place. Like I didn't really, you know, I had friends around that time that like sports and stuff, so I was always trying to get into sports. Even though I wasn't a sporty person, I was an artist. I liked art and I liked music, and I was always constantly like trying to this like separate myself from that, and I was trying to fit in with my friends that did sports. So I was always trying to get into all these sports, and like I was constantly sitting on the bench, and I was constantly being told like you're not athletic and you're not that good, and I was constantly being told all these things that obviously was not for me. I was not school smart and I was not sports smart. I wasn't any of these things, and like I said, being lonely in 10th grade. It's just like you become very desperate for anything and anyone. And I just remember, like, I wanted to be in love so bad. I was like, if I have a boyfriend, maybe all this sadness and all this neglection and all this misunderstanding and all that will cover it. Like, maybe if I can find a guy who will love me so much that I can put all my problems on and just everything will be fine. Like, everything, like, I really thought a guy would save my life. And I'm not saying guys can't save your life, but the fact that like I had no interest in life whatsoever, but a guy is saving my life type of crap. I feel like I'm not explaining this. I know I have to have confidence. I have to have confidence. I'm explaining this fine. This is my story. But yeah, I wanted a boyfriend. I wanted a boyfriend so bad. That didn't work out. No guy really. Guys would flirt with me, but it wasn't like the way I wanted it. It was always kind of like, oh yeah, we could hook up and stuff. And it's like, no, like I want a boyfriend. Like I want someone to love me and treat me kindly and nice. So that didn't work out. And it came to a point where I wasn't even looking for a guy. I just wanted someone to love me. I didn't care about anything at a point. I was just like, I'm so desperate and lonely. Like I just want to be in love because let me tell you, I think a lot of other people can feel what I feel, but when you're in high school and you see everybody in love and stuff, you're kind of just like, there's something definitely wrong with me because why am I not falling in love? Why am I not getting asked out? Why am I not going on dates? And like, it could be really depressing to be honest. So I knew that I thought there was something wrong with me, and I was just like, why is nobody loving me? And why am I bad at everything? And I just felt like a loser. I felt like a loser, and I just felt like there was no purpose for me living. So it was 10th grade still, 16, 15 years old. That's when my parents were finally like listening to me about my narcolepsy. So we took sleep studies and stuff, and I ended up finding out that yeah, I did have narcolepsy. And I remember the doctors and stuff were putting me on like all these pills and to treat my narcolepsy. And I also like told them I was really depressed and I had anxiety because around this time I was getting like really bad sleep attacks. Like no, not sleep attacks. Obviously, I was getting sleep attacks because that's what narcolepsy is. But no, I was getting a bunch of like random panic attacks. Like it was really really weird. I remember like the nurse was like literally like holding me one time because I was crying and I was shaking so much. Like I don't know what was going on. Like I haven't had those since then, but it was really I was going through a lot of stress, and I just remember the doctors giving me all these pills and um, for my anxiety and depression, and then I had a pill for my narcolepsy, and I just remember feeling so off. Like I felt so, I was awake, and the pills were working, but I was so like off. Like life felt so numb, and I just remember like it was really weird. I would go to work and I would work and I'd talk to people and then I'd come home and I was like I want to kill myself. I would have those thoughts really randomly. Like I would be okay and then randomly I would be crying like crazy, or randomly I would be shaking, or just randomly like it would be everything would be fine, and all of a sudden I would be like I need to end it all. Like I need to end it all like now. Like I need to kill myself. Like at this like at 8 o'clock tonight I'm gonna kill myself. Like something like stuff like that. And like that is so extreme. And I was like, this isn't my voice. Like I knew this wasn't me. So I was like, okay, I have to like get off of these pills because it's not gonna be good. Like it's not going to be good. I remember I was in the bathroom. I was in this music class, and I remember I went to use the bathroom, and um I remember being in there for almost like an hour because out of nowhere I was having this like panic attack and I was like crying, and I remember I was like, why am I crying? Like I kept on asking myself, why am I crying so bad? Like I was fine. I was just getting out of class to use the bathroom. Like, why am I crying? And I didn't understand. And I remember in the back of my head, I was like, yeah, I want to kill myself. I want to kill myself. I was like, why am I saying this? Why am I crying? I didn't know how to calm myself down. And I remember going back to music class, and my teacher got really upset. And she was like, don't cry. Like, listen. Like, she was just like, she basically told me, can you cry at another time? Like, this isn't the time right now to be crying. And I told her, I was like, listen, I hear you, but I don't know why I was crying. I'm really sorry about that, but I really just don't know why I did all that. So that was really odd. I was really confused then, and that's when I was like, yeah, I really have to get off of these pills because it's like controlling my emotions, and it's making me a little bit confused. And um around this time, I I don't really know exact ages and exact time, but I have tried to kill myself at least 3, 4 times. I think this was around the time when I was on my pills, and I decided, my mom had heart pills. I remember my mom told me if you would take like 3 or more of these pills, you would die. So, um, I don't know why she said that. I guess she just didn't want us to take the pills. But I remember taking some of her pills. I took some of my pills. I took some other random pills. And I think I took the anxiety and depression pills. And I smushed them all together. And I put them in a bag. And I went upstairs. And I was like, I'm going to take a nap. And when I wake up, I'm going to swallow these. And I took a nap. And I woke up. And I was about to drink it. And the next thing you know, my sister was knocking on the door, and she was like, oh, mommy made food. And obviously, I don't know what it was, but it was definitely something I liked. And I went downstairs and I ate, and I realized I don't want to kill myself. I don't want to kill myself. This food is good. My little sister just was at the door. Like, I don't want to end everything. Like, I can't do it. So I didn't do it that day, and I'm so glad I didn't. I'm so glad my mom cooked, and I'm so glad my sister, she was like 7 years old too. Like that's insane that she could open that door and I could have been gone. But after that, I got off the pills, and around this time, with narcolepsy, you really hallucinate, and with narcolepsy, because you don't get sleep, so you kind of hallucinate, and you're kind of all over the place all the time. Like, you're not crazy, but you're not really stable all the time. I will say that. And I remember it was one day I was in my room, and I was just so depressed. I was off my pills, but I was still really sad because I was off my pills now, and I just, like, I wasn't able to stay awake. Also, around this time, I was trying to get my driver's license, and I was told that I'm not going to be able to drive. So, it was really depressing, because I was just like, because the whole point was being on those pills so I could get, ready to drive, be prepared. But the pills weren't working, so I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm not ever going to be able to drive. And I was just really sad. And I remember sitting in my room, and like I said, when you have narcolepsy, you really do hallucinate and stuff because you don't get sleep, so you do hear a lot of things, and you do see a lot of things that aren't really there. And I remember randomly I was on my bed. I was literally right there. And I remember staring at my fan. I was like awake, but I wasn't awake. I guess it's like the subconscious. And I remember staring at my fan, and I remember just like looking at my fan, and I was just like, no, I'm not explaining it right. I was just on my bed, and I wasn't awake, but I was awake. And I remember hearing God's voice. I remember him saying, I think, what did he say? He said something like, keep on going. He said, I might be making this up. I feel like he said, it was really short, but I remember I heard a voice, and he said, keep on going. And this is how I knew it was God, just because I'm an overthinker, and I know my voice. I overthink all the time. I definitely know my voice. So when I'm hearing this random man's voice, it's like, okay, well, that's not my voice. You know, I overthink. I hear it all the time. This cannot be my voice. This was really random, and it felt very warm, and it felt very comfortable, and I knew this was God. I knew this was God. And I remember um another thing, when I would hallucinate, it made no sense. Like, I remember one time I hallucinated that there was an elephant in the corner of the room. That made no sense. But for some reason, around this time, God was talking to me so much during these little seasons of me hallucinating. And that's how I knew that God was definitely for sure real, because I felt this like feeling. It felt very comforting. It felt very it felt real. Like, it felt like somebody was really telling me, like, hey, you're gonna be okay. And when people ask me, Izzy, like, how did God's voice sound? you know I don't really know. It's just, I remember it sounded very powerful, and it sounded like you shouldn't really mess with him, but it sounded like he was saying it with so much love, and that he cares about you so much. And you know for me, like, a lot of my faith, it didn't come from going to church. It didn't come from reading the Bible. When I was 15 and 16 and 17 years old, a lot of my stories come from just God simply just talking to me. And I think I hate having narcolepsy, but having narcolepsy has made me kind of able to hear God a little bit more, just because of my hallucinations, and I'm not getting sleep and all this. And people are going to say, "Oh, well, do you think it's because you're not getting enough sleep and this and that?" No, because like I said, I'm an overthinker, and I know my voice. I know the voice that's in my head. When I hear a random voice, that is not me. I know that's not me. That has to be God. If it's not God, then who else is in my head talking to me? Like, it has to be God. So I just thought that was the first time I actually heard his voice. I always believed in him. I always really did. I always had a strong belief about God. I always did. But that's when I was like, whoa, like, there's no way he's not real. Like, whoa, like, I literally heard his voice. And I remember, what was I gonna say? I remember, what was I gonna say? It was something that had to do with that. Oh, okay. So, during those days and during those nights, I was really, like, sad. Like I said, like, I was sad. Like, I would sit on my bed and kind of just stare at nothing. I would cry myself asleep a lot. I used to do that all the time. Sometimes I still do, but I used to cry myself to sleep all the time. And I remember one time, I was sleeping. I was, like, crying my heart out. And I remember, I like it was the middle of when I was sleeping. I remember feeling a hand kind of just, like, pet me. Like, not like a dog, but kind of just comfort me, like you're okay type of feeling. And I actually felt that many times, not just once. I felt that maybe like three, 4 times, maybe not 4 times, maybe 3 or 2 times. But I felt, whenever I would cry, I would go to sleep, and like I said, I wasn't awake, but I wasn't sleeping, and I would just feel this. Well, I was sleeping. I wasn't awake, and I was sleeping. You know what I mean? That's like that stage of you're awake but you're not awake. But I remember I would feel this, like, comfort, and I knew that it wasn't bad and it wasn't evil. Like, there was good energy around. I don't know if it was an angel or if it was God. Like, I don't know, but I felt like, just, I would be laying down and I just felt this, like you're okay. And nobody said anything, but I just felt like a hand just, like, patting me. So I remember that, and I was like, okay, that's another experience that I'm experiencing. You know, it's just little things like that are happening. And God was starting to talk to me a lot during my dreams. Around this time, also, I was I was getting into tarot readings. I wasn't going to, like, actual places, but I would do tarot readings on my computer because, like I said, I wanted to be in love, and I was like, oh, I just, like, I would try to see if like the people I liked around that time, I would try to see like, if they actually like me and stuff. Like it was so weird. Like I was so lost and I was so desperate and I just wanted to be loved. That was literally like the only thing I thought about in high school was just love, 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 love. I just wanted to be loved. I wasn't thinking about hobbies. I wasn't thinking about anything interesting about life. Life is beautiful. There's so much out there. I was so caught up on being in love. Like that's all I wanted to be. That's all I cared about. That's all I wanted. And I didn't know what love was at all around that time. Now I'm learning what love is, and I know what love is now. But then I didn't know what love was. And I see why God did not put me in a loving relationship, because I would have flipped it and made it not so love. Um, so it's just, I remember I would look at these like tarot reading things. These things would pop up on my For You page on YouTube. And it didn't have much views, so I was like, oh, okay, this is random. This is definitely for me, because it's like it has not that many views or whatever, So I would watch these, and I would do these a lot. I would watch these a lot, and I remember one time, what was happening? I think I worked with music briefly during my high school years. I liked music. That was one thing that I did just for fun. But I remember one time I took a nap. I was working with music. I came home and I was working with music, and then I took a nap. And I took a random nap. I didn't even know why I took a nap, because I literally came home and I was working on music. And I was sleepy, and I just lay down and I took a nap. I remember in that dream, I'm not even kidding you guys, that's when I really also felt God and his presence, and I swear he was talking to me. And he was just saying, like, Izzy, like, we were kind of just having, like, this, like, conversation. I don't even know what we were talking about. And when I have dreams about God, I never actually see him. It's kind of just, like, it's random, but I hear his voice. So, like, the whole, like, scene, that my dream was in made no sense. I think it was, like, green grass, and, like, I think there was, like, a flying elephant. I don't even know, but it made no sense. But when he was talking to me, when he was speaking to me, made sense. It very much felt like, just like, I don't know, just like a fantasy almost. I was just dreaming. I was like, la 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 la. But we were like kind of going on a walk. But again, I didn't see him. I think I was riding like an elephant or something. I don't even know. But to be honest, he might have been the elephant. I don't know. He doesn't ever show himself. He just shows, in my dreams I've always experienced, it's just like all over the place. Like it doesn't ever make sense, but the words make sense. You know what I mean? You feel the words. But I remember we were like taking a walk, and I remember we were just giggling. We were having so much fun. We were giggling, we were laughing, and I was just, I don't know what I was telling him. I don't know what he was talking to me about, but it just felt so comforting. He kind of just reminded me of like a dad. Like we were just hanging out, and it felt so peaceful, and I was just like, I love this. Like I don't want to go back. Like I want to stay here for the rest of my life. I remember feeling that. I was like, I don't want to leave him. I like this. Like I love talking to him. And then like casually, he just brings up, like, I forgot what he said. I think he said something like, so your future husband, huh? Or something like that. And he said, yeah, 2 kings and 2 queens aren't gonna make that happen or something. And I remember like cracking up. I remember I thought that was so funny, because I was just like, and he was being really sarcastic with it. And I don't know if you guys know with tarot readings and all that stuff, but they like have like kings, and I mean, I might be tripping. I haven't did it in so long, but they name all these weird names and stuff of these cards, and he was just casually saying like 2 kings and 2 queens, they're not gonna bring you your love or whatever. And he didn't say it like that. He said it so much more sarcastically. And I definitely believe God has sense of humor. And I remember we both cracked up, because I was like, it made me realize that like I'm literally messing around with cards. Like these cards aren't gonna predict my future. And like I need to stay, well, actually those cards, they can be accurate, but they're dangerous and you shouldn't mess with that stuff. and it made me realize that like I need to stop messing around with this. Like it's stupid. Like just stop. Like just trust him. You know, he was just letting me know, just like you need to stop messing with that stuff. Like I got you. Like I hear you. I hear your prayers. I see what you want. You know, I love you. You know, he was basically just telling me to like follow him. You know, he's been telling me that's like a lot. Like through my dreams around that time, he was constantly just talking to me, telling me like put me first. You know, he was always telling me that when I was a little girl, like when I was a teenager. He was always telling me to put him first, and everything will come through. He was always telling me that, and I didn't understand that. But after he told me about that tarot reading stuff, that's when I stopped. I stopped, and I see this stuff now, and I'm like, get away from me. Like, nah, like, no. And basically, like, after that, I remember um, that dream was closing up, and I just remember being so sad that I was leaving him. I was like, I don't want to leave you. I want to be with you forever. Like, it felt like I just felt so peaceful. And he was just like, I know, but you need to go on. You need to move on. You need to go on with life. It sounds like I almost died, but I didn't. I was literally sleeping. And he was just telling me, like, you need to go on with life. And, like, it's going to be good. Like, he didn't say my child, but, like, he was just like, you need to go on with life. Like, you can't be with me forever. Like, it's not your time yet. Like, you need to, like, it does sound like I low-key died, but no, I didn't. I was sleeping. I think he would have, like, said, hey, child, like, hey, you might be dying. Like, I think he would, like, clarify that, but he didn't. Because I wasn't dying. But he was just like, yeah, you need to go back. I'm going to wake you back up, basically. And then I woke up, and I was really sad, because it was just like, that dream was amazing. But yeah, no, just, like, little stuff like that was happening a lot. So, basically, I think it was, what, I feel like I'm missing out a lot of things, but I can't tell you my whole life story. I mean, this is already 30 minutes long, but yeah, no, basically, after having those little experiences with God, I started really like talking to Him about everything, all my problems. He was starting to become, I wasn't just seeing Him as like God the Creator, I was kind of just seeing Him as like my friend. It was like, okay, well, you've been comforting me, you know, when I'm sad and all this, like, you're definitely real. So I'm going to sit here and tell you all my problems. And you're going to sit here and you're going to listen. And he did. He did. He made me feel really comfortable. I also, around this time, I asked for friends. I asked for real friends. You know, because, again, I wasn't really having, I didn't have really, like, real friends. I had good friends in school, but I didn't have anybody to hang out with and have sleepovers with. And you know what? He did give me friends. You know, when I think God it doesn't answer my prayers, I think about my situation when I asked him for friends. And he gave me not just one, he gave me I have a lot of friends, but you know, around this time I three of my friends really were getting me out of the house, you know, were just really showing me that he really answered my prayers. You know, I was giggling with them. I felt very comfortable. I could really be myself. I was just like, oh my gosh, he answers my prayers. Like this is amazing. Like this is everything I asked for. And I met them at like such random times, and it was more towards end of high school, like senior year when I started really getting close to them. But he really like he really just like brought them in my life and really made my life like they were like the light to my life. Like really, they really made my life so much better. And I was starting to not I was so attached to love, like romantic love, but with my friends I was starting to realize that was love itself. And my friends were helping me realize how beautiful life is, and to keep your head up and everything's okay, and you're not neglected and people do love you. And you know, I'm so glad that he brought me my friends. He really answered that prayer very beautifully. And my friends just I love my friends. And I was starting to just being little friends, like talking to little people, not little, what talking to this like random people in school, like just over little things like a test, or just like I don't know, just little things like gym class. Those little friends that I made, I ended up becoming very close with as I got older. So now, you know, before I had like no friends, but now I have a good group of people that love me and really do like who I am and don't judge me and don't criticize me. And not a lot of people have that. I have so much platonic love and it's so beautiful. And I feel like Barbie. I feel like Barbie with a bunch of friends that actually love her, Not a Raquel type of crap, but I love my friends. I love my friends so much, and I pray all the time that my friends are going to be with me for so long, and it's so beautiful that God answered that prayer, and I'm so grateful for that. Um, but yeah, he was just like he was slowly like my life was falling apart and I couldn't drive, so I was always at home and I was sad. I didn't have a boyfriend and there was a lot of things that I was upset about. There was a lot of things that was going on at home that I was upset about. There was a lot of things I didn't know. I didn't want to go to college. I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. My friend Claudia, I am going to mention her name. She kind of had a lot of the same life struggles as I did. And I remember one time she invited me to a Bible study, and I remember that I wasn't against the Bible, but I was just like, I'm already close to God. Like, I already pray to Him. Like, I don't need the Bible to get into heaven. I don't need the Bible to have a relationship with God. Like, I was very much against all that stuff. And I remember my friend, she invited me to Bible study, and I was a little bit scared because I was a little bit like I dealt with a lot of Christians that kind of were like really judgy, and I was just like, I don't know, they're like I don't know. I never really considered myself a Christian, or I never put myself with labels. I was just I'm Izzy and I believe in God and that's it. And I remember I went to this Bible study, and I was just like, these people are actually really cool, and everything we were talking about, it was a little bit confusing at first, but the more and more I went, I started really like understanding it more. And I even got a different type of Bible. The Bible I was looking at was very like, it was speaking like shall nor and all these big words, and I was just like, so I got a Bible that I actually understood. But um I just I started liking it. And one thing with going to that Bible study, the people that were leading that Bible study, they really made me realize that, the Bible is kind of like medicine. I started reading the Bible more. I started just like journaling. Oh my gosh, just journaling. Oh gosh, you want to talk about journaling? I started reading the Bible more. I started journaling. I started kind of just like getting really close to God. And aren't these journals cute? I love vintage stuff. Like, I would open this and show you guys, but like, there's just some things I don't want you to see. But still, it's really cute. And I started, really kind of studying the Bible, and studying the Bible just like made me realize like God is like beautiful, and learning more about Jesus was really interesting. Um but yeah, no, it just was really like making me realize that like the life guide to life, the life book is literally the Bible. It's literally the Bible. Like literally it has so much good advice. And for me it was like almost for a long time I felt empty. I felt like I needed a boyfriend. I felt like I needed friends, and I felt like I needed all these things. I thought I needed, to have a good career, like just so many things that I thought I needed. And one thing I realized, especially I realized this like this year, I guess this year, last year, I realized it doesn't matter what you have, you still might always feel empty. And for me personally, when I don't put God first, when I don't seek Him first, when I don't even think about Him, life feels so empty. It feels so empty. Putting God in my life has made me feel like full, like just praying to him about everything, talking to him about everything. Um, it makes me feel like, one thing I've realized, humans are only human. So, there's a lot of times where I'll go through things and I feel like people aren't listening and people aren't hearing me. Um, but one thing with God is he hears you, and he listens. He makes you feel that comfort that a lot of humans can't give you. Your husband, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your friends, your mom and dad. God gives you this comfort that nobody else can give you. And for me, I'm a very sensitive person, and I just sometimes I want people to feel what I'm feeling, and I want people to see, you know, the things I'm seeing, and just like I want people to really, really, understand. And you want to feel heard. You want to feel heard. You want to be seen. You want to feel loved. I think at the end of the day, that's what a lot of humans just want. A lot of humans just want to feel loved and feel seen and be heard. And you know, I think that's why a lot of people chase things, because it makes them feel a certain way. And it's like no matter what you chase these things can leave you in a hot second. These things can do you wrong. These things can't fill your heart like God can. And it's so important for us to have a relationship with God because he makes you feel what a lot of us need, that he feels that emptiness that a lot of us hold inside. And like I said, like I've dropped so many things just so I can get close to God. Even things that, I like doing, and things that just anything that pulls me away from God, I try to separate because I don't ever want to feel empty again. I don't ever want to try to kill myself again. I don't ever want to be in that dark place again. I want to be happy, and I want to feel good about life. And God makes me feel good about life, and he makes me not feel that I need anything. God has taught me so much to love myself. God has taught me so much to embrace myself. In fact, I was talking about music. Um, God, God definitely was with me as a kid, as much as I don't realize it. But as a kid, I obviously didn't have such a tight relationship with him, but I did have this like, I did know him and I did trust him, and I like, you know what I mean. And I remember as a kid, they say the things you love as a kid is what you're meant to do and what you're called to do. And I remember as a kid, I loved music. I loved to sing. I love music. I loved that stuff. And I remember just like as I got older, and I went into society and went to school, it really stripped me away from that. But when I got close to God, he brought me back to that. I'm not even kidding you guys. The more and more I get closer to God, I see a little Izzy. For a long time, I wasn't wearing my curly hair. God made me wear my curly hair. I feel like little Izzy. I loved, my childhood was amazing. I loved being a kid. And the more and more I get close to God, I feel like little Izzy. I feel like her. And I'm getting back into music. That's my calling. I had a dream that he showed me that music was for me. He talks to me and he tells me like, Izzy, like he loves us so much. And I really do believe that, you know, what we were as a kid, the things we liked, and just like we knew ourselves as kids. So as we get older, we lose ourselves, and then we kind of find ourselves again back at the things we liked as a kid and all that. And I feel like God can really help you find your inner self. And God has found my inner self, and he made me realize that I'm beautiful and my voice is good, and music's my calling, and I'm not bad at, I understand you're not good at, I think he's definitely like, all right, she's not good at school and she's not good at sports, you know what I mean? And people might call her stupid or whatever, but she's good at music, and that's my gift that I gave her. And I really do believe that, he is working through me, and he's working through everyone. And I wish more people would tap in and hear his voice. He's always talking to you. He's always talking to you. He's probably talking to me right now, but I'm so caught up talking to you that I can't even hear him. You just have to like take a moment and just listen, just listen. And I think being on social media is great, sometimes just take a break from your phone, and you will realize your brain will start to slow down, and you can hear God's voice a lot more if you just relax and just really like meditate and just tap in. You just got to tap in, and you can hear it. You really, really can. And pray and ask him, hey, can you talk to me? Can you talk to me in my dreams? You know, I think more people, everybody's so quick to prove that God doesn't exist, and everybody's so quick to prove that God does exist. And all, I think, I think if I'm gonna give anybody advice, if they are curious about God, just try it. And it's not like, when I say just try it, I mean just with all your problems, talk to him, pray to him, journal them. Hey Father, I'm gonna journal to you. You know, like, hey Father, I watched this YouTube video on this girl talking about that you exist or whatever, and I just want to talk to you. Like, if you exist and you're hearing me through this, cool. And I don't know, just talk to him, ask him for simple things. Hey Father, I need $10. you know you might not get $10, but you might be surprised, you might get $10. Just talk to him. I wish if I can give more people who are questioning about God, talk to him. The relationship part is all that matters. Repenting, yes, there is more into it when having a relationship with God, but I think the main important thing that God cares about and what he really sees is the relationship part. I wish more Christians would just say that. I feel like a lot of Christians use a lot of big words, and I know when I was getting into learning more about Christianity, I was just really confused. For me, like I said, I came close to God without the Bible. And some people come close to God with the Bible, and that's great. But this is my story on how I came close to him without the Bible by simply, I'm probably not saying that right. Simply is simple. By simply, I don't know. By just praying, Father, please help me during these situations, crying, all these things, just praying and talking to him. He cares about a relationship with us. When he says, depart from me, I never knew you, it's not depart from me, you never read all these scriptures, and you never went to church, and you never did this, and you never did that, and you sinned this and sinned that. It's depart from me. You never even said hi. You never even talked to me about your day. You never asked me, about this job, or you never just talked to me. That's all he cares about. When we die, we're going to his house. So I don't know why it's so shocking when people are like, why would he throw me, like, why would he not invite me in? Like, why would he if he doesn't even know you? Like, at the end of the day, he just wants a relationship with us. And yes, repenting and all that stuff's important, and I think the more and more you get closer to God, you will understand more of these little rules. But they're not really rules, they're more just to help us and make our life peaceful. As much as people want to say, like, sin this and that, sins, what happened in the world was God created all these beautiful things, and basically it got flipped and it got turned around into things that aren't supposed to be the way God made it. So it did become very sinful. So a lot of these sinful things, just are here to destroy us. And God just wants the best for us. He wants us at peace. He wants us not stressing, and he doesn't want us crying all the time. He wants us to just be living, and he loves us. He loves us so, so much. So I think it's so important that I shared this. He told me to share this, and I'm so glad that I did. I actually prayed before I recorded this that I wouldn't stop myself, because I'm always recording things and I stop myself. But I didn't stop myself. I just let myself go and talk, and I'm so proud of myself because I feel like the Holy Spirit wasn't me a little bit speaking, because I just kept on going. And it's okay to make mistakes, because that's just who we are. We make mistakes. We're human beings, and everything's cool and everything's good, So I'm so glad you guys watched this. I really hope I explained this pretty well. I know there's going to be somebody out here who needs to hear this, and I really hope my friends hear this because now they can know a little bit more about me. But yeah, I really hope this helped you, and I really hope God can move in your life, which he definitely already is trying to. So let him in. Let him in. Bye, guys.